The richest presidents in history. Did they buy their way to power? Ever wondered if the Oval Office comes with a price tag included sticker? Well, buckle up, buttercups, because we're diving headfirst into the gilded wallets of some of America's wealthiest presidents. Did they earn their place in history, or did their fortunes pave the way? Let's find out. Being president isn't just about having a winning smile and a firm handshake. It requires charisma, a Machiavellian strategy, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of moolah. Money buys influence. It buys allies. And dare we say, it might even buy a few votes along the way. After all, who are you more likely to listen to? The guy with a cardboard sign, or the guy with a private jet? So, the million-dollar question, or maybe the billion-dollar question, is this: can the presidency actually be bought? Is democracy just a fancy auction where the highest bidder wins? Today, we're examining some of the wealthiest presidents in history to see if their fortunes opened doors, or if their lack of charisma highlighted their failure. Get ready for some serious side-eye and maybe a little bit of envy. Donald J. Trump. The man, the myth, the hair. His estimated fortune: a cool 2.5 to 3.2 billion. Not bad for a guy who started with just a small loan from his father. He's the poster child for mixing money, ego, and politics into a cocktail so potent it could probably fuel a rocket. And whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny he knows how to grab attention. So, how did this real estate mogul, reality TV star, and professional tweeter end up in the White House? Let's break it down. First, he famously didn't accept the presidential salary. Because, he's already rich. Second, he transformed American politics into a reality show, complete with villains, catchphrases, and dramatic exits. And third, he had insane brand recognition. From Trump Tower to Trump Steaks. Remember those? His name was everywhere. Did money help him win? Absolutely. But it wasn't just the money itself. It was the self-promotion, the branding, and the sheer audacity of it all. He turned being rich into a political asset. Next up, we have the OG president, George Washington. His estimated fortune, adjusted for inflation, clocks in at a staggering $580 million. Talk about a founding father with deep pockets. Washington wasn't just a general. He was a landowner, a plantation owner, and a shrewd businessman. He owned vast tracts of land, including the sprawling Mount Vernon estate. So, how did this wealthy landowner become the leader of a revolution and the first president of the United States? His plantations produced tobacco, wheat, and other crops, all thanks to the forced labor of enslaved people. Let's not forget that uncomfortable truth. His wealth made him one of the most influential men of his time. People listened to him because he had power, and he had power because he had money. And of course, he led the country to independence. Can't forget that little detail. Did money help him? Without a doubt. It allowed him to dedicate his time to governing instead of toiling away on a plantation. It gave him the resources to wage war and build a nation. Now let's talk about JFK, the epitome of American royalty. His fortune, adjusted for inflation, is estimated at a cool $1.2 billion. The Kennedys were basically the Kardashians of their time, but with better taste in hats. The Kennedy family wealth was legendary. His father, Joseph P. Kennedy, was a banker, investor, and, shall we say, a colorful character with alleged ties to bootlegging. How did this charming, charismatic, and incredibly wealthy young man become president? His father controlled Wall Street, had extensive contacts in the media, and wasn't afraid to use his influence. JFK's campaign spent heavily on advertising, creating a godlike image of the young candidate. He was basically a walking, talking, perfectly coiffed advertisement for the American dream. Did money help? Absolutely. Without it, he might have just been another handsome senator from Massachusetts. But with it, he became a legend. Next, we have Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and a man who apparently had a serious shopping problem. His estimated fortune, adjusted for inflation, was around $236 million. Jefferson inherited land, including the iconic Monticello estate, but he also spent lavishly on books, art, and fine wine. He was basically the 18th century equivalent of a trust fund kid with a penchant for intellectual pursuits. How did this debt-ridden intellectual become president? He was considered an intellectual elite thanks to his wealth and his eloquent writing. People listened to him because he was smart, well-spoken, and, well, rich. Did money help? Initially, yes. It gave him the platform to express his ideas and the credibility to be taken seriously. But in the end, he died in debt. So maybe money can't buy happiness or financial responsibility. Finally, we have Theodore Roosevelt, the Rough Rider, the trust buster, and the wealthy New Yorker who preferred adventure to afternoon tea. His estimated fortune, adjusted for inflation, was around $140 million. Roosevelt came from a privileged background, but he used his wealth to fight for the common man. He was a reformist who took on monopolies and championed progressive causes. How did this wealthy adventurer become president? He presented himself as a man of the people, despite his privileged upbringing. His energy, charisma, and cowboy image resonated with voters. Did money help? Yes, it gave him the freedom to pursue his passions and the platform to launch his political career. But his cowboy image and his progressive policies were arguably more impactful. So, does money buy power? The answer, as always, is complicated. Money certainly helps. It opens doors, it buys influence, and it gives you a platform to be heard. But it doesn't guarantee victory. Look at Michael Bloomberg's failed presidential bid. He spent over $500 million of his own money and still couldn't win the Democratic nomination. Being rich but boring is not enough. On the other hand, being charismatic but poor requires a sponsor. Someone has to fund your campaign, and that usually means someone with deep pockets. So, what does this all mean for the future of American politics? Will future presidents all be billionaires? Will the Oval Office become a playground for the ultra-rich? Only time will tell. Now it's your turn. Let us know in the comments below. Do you think money plays too big a role in politics? And who do you think will be the next billionaire president? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content, and share this with your friends. Every little bit helps us keep the lights on and the sarcasm flowing.